Zerstörung einer funktionierenden Infrastruktur, die die Welt je gesehen hat.
Lithuania declares independence.
Сегодня еще раз обращаюсь ко всем гражданам России.
Georgia declares independence. Geopolitical domino effect?
И патриотизм. Это гражданская солидарность.
Union state troops march into Lithuania. Lithuania's secession is illegal. After almost a month of no military action, some believe Moscow would not take any significant measures. Despite the Kremlin's resistance to any political reforms that would give its republics more sovereignty, it is also believed Union state troops have made precautious military advancements into potential soon-to-be independent republics. Georgia has not reported any outside aggression. Latvia's expected declaration of independence. Ukrainians pick up arms and fight for freedom once again. Germany returns eastern territories to Poland and Czechia.
С самого начала событий незамедлительно были приняты все необходимые решения по нейтрализации возникшей угрозы, по защите конституционного строя, жизни и безопасности наших граждан.
German Bundeskanzlerin Weidel used most of her Christmas speech to shine a light on Putin's malpractices in the Union State independence wars. She stated her support for those seeking independence, encouraging their governments to strengthen ties with the Tone Alliance. Estonia's provisional government has already said they appreciate the message, but condemned Germany's vision of a new Europe. Berlin-Moscow relations continue getting ever more tense.
My foreign policy will always put the interests of the American people.
Tone and England wills plus allies to sign White Peace, PM Starmer announces.
Has to be first. Has to be. That
Union
will
state
be
independence
the
wars
foundation
reach stalemate.
of every single decision that I will make. America.
After Vladimir Putin visited Beijing for the first time since the independence wars, Chinese President Xi Jinping remarked that we will support the Union State in every way we deem necessary in their proxy fight against the fascist alliance, referring to the Tone Alliance. This news comes while U.S. President Trump receives increasing amounts of criticism for avoiding the question when being asked about America's stance on the situation unfolding in Europe. Many call for him to support the last truly democratic holdouts Europe still has.
The greatest generation beat back the Nazis and Japanese imperialists. Then we saved the world again.
President Trump and his VP J.D. Vance unable to reach accord.
And communism, the Cold War.
J.D. Vance has stepped down as the U.S. Vice President, criticizing Trump for continuous refusal to break his isolationist policies. Vance argues that this could impact the American worker in less than ideal ways. Trump still argues that America is better off preserving its resources and thus refuses involvement in the Europe situation. Europeans wanted this. America isn't always there to save the day. It's that simple. Meanwhile, Democratic nominee Gavin Newsom is surging in the polls as he campaigns to support for the last European democracies who've been able to withstand fascism.
Logic was replaced with foolishness and arrogance, which led to one foreign policy disaster.
Ukraine-Tone relations soar. Ukrainian membership seems ever more likely.
It all began with the dangerous idea that we could make Western democracies out of countries that had no experience or interest in becoming a Western democracy. We tore up what institutions they had, and then were surprised at what we unleashed. Thousands of Americans and just killed lives wasted.
Ukraine officially joins Tone Alliance. Moscow fumes at Berlin's decision.
They just don't know
Tone
what
on
to do.
campaign overwhelming. Union state defenses
They
unfinished.
just don't know what to do.
Geopolitical analysts call Tone's Ukraine offensive very risky move.
God, it's not Ukraine anymore.
Democratic presidential candidate Gavin Newsom wins 2028 U.S. election.
And whatever they ask me to do, I'll do. And stand up and stand proud and strong, because I just never had an opportunity to defend a record I think as impressive as the record of the Biden administration the last 2 years, with humility and recognition that not every problem in the world has been solved, and that people still have deep unease and anxiety about the world they are living in. And that is part of our responsibility every single day to make those lives better.
This Saturday morning, Vladimir Putin, president of the Union State, died age 76 after a German-made missile hit Gomel, where the president attended a union with the Belarusians event. Germany's Alice Weidel apologized for what happened, but also shifted the blame onto Ukraine's chaotic military structure. Members of the Russian State Duma did not take the incident lightly, calling it an intentional and unprovoked act of gruesomely assassinating one's head of state. Russia's PM Mikhail Mishustin now assumes presidency by default. Many Russians are in shock. A period of mourning is yet to be announced. Europe's economy has long suffered from the lack of healthy trade relations with the rest of the world, namely the US, which shares Europe's strategic self-sufficiency policies, and China, which placed tone members under heavy sanctions, despite its own resentment towards this method, as a way to tilt the Russo-tone struggle in the Union states, and thus its own, favor. Many European head of states have been calling this a temporary shock Europe must simply get through. Tone's willingness to take risks, however, has, evidently, increased, which is a sign of the economic mess being a more fundamental issue. Ukraine and Tone start greatest offensive seen by man, President says.
Совсем недавно, в соответствии с Конституцией, правительство отчитывалось о результатах своей работы за 2023 год, да и в целом за предыдущие 4 лет. За этот период удалось существенно повысить
Baltic states and Union states sign historical peace accord.
улучшить координацию любой власти как на федеральном, так и на региональном уровне.
President Newsom and she visit Moscow to discuss Tone's military ambitions. Belarus forced to surrender to Tone forces and establishes independent states. Tone's unforeseen aggressive proxy offensive has now become Europe's bloodiest conflict since World War II. The Union state has called out the US for one, causing the ordeal by giving fascists too much breathing space in post-90s Europe, and two, for resisting, or helping Russia, too little too late. Nuclear exchange has now become a serious point of debate in Russia and beyond. China, however, discouraged the option immediately, opting to step up support instead. Why TOENN is willing to undertake such a risk has been 2029's great unanswered question, with some concluding that Europe is in some serious trouble, also seen its lack of ammunition stockpiles.
Это ключевые приоритеты и, конечно, масштабная программа социально-экономического развития, которая нам с вами, уважаемые
Union State Minister of Defense fears loss of Sevastopol, a key warm water port.
конечно, во взаимодействии с Советом Федерации.
Ukrainian and Belarusian TOENN forces pull out of Kaliningrad upon Polish demand. It's seemingly impossible to find a point of concession in this conflict. It might be something bigger.